So according to ESPN, they're not biased at all, Rob. Caitlin Clark is not in the top 5 of college players of all time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so and hit the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. And don't forget to join us for Caitlin Clark's crossover tonight. This is Monday from 6 to 7 and Thursdays from 5:30 to 6:30. We will be discussing this topic both on Monday and Thursday because we have two different guests, groups of guests actually, that are on the show. It's going to be Eastern time except for major holidays. It's like a sports reporter type panel. We have a lot of podcasters come in for that. It's really cool. So, Rob, I just want to say that one of the reasons I got involved in this was because I think sports fans aren't objective, and neither are a lot of commentators, which is even a lot worse because they're supposed to be people who are neutral. Because otherwise, if they're not neutral, Rob, their expert opinion is meaningless to me.
Right.
It's meaningless to me.
Right. You're exactly right, Mark.
So, Rob, where's ESPN located?
Well, yeah. Let's see. ESPN is located in Bristol, Connecticut.
Oh, really? Oh, and where's there a lot of women's basketball champions and players from, Rob?
Well, it seems to be, Mark, that a lot of people lean towards the Connecticut's. You see that they seem to be the only team in college basketball where, it seems to be the greatest, fantastic, and all the stuff about is Connecticut.
And last year, Rob, what color were their commentators last year, Rob, that they had on this show? All of them.
Blue?
Green? No, they were all black sisters, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't like Caitlin Clark for a reason, Rob, because of tribalism. And now this year they added some white commentators, but last year all the commentators they had on First Take and halftime and pregame show for their games, and Rebecca Lobo is not black. Obviously, she's white and Cuban. But other than that, everybody else, Rob, was black. Now this year they've changed it, mix it up a little bit, which is good because you need to have some variety. It shouldn't matter what skin color they are. I just want to point that out. Yeah. But it only matters if they're biased because of their skin color, which they were. And so I think they got pushback on that, and they added some white commentators.
They seem to think that only black players or black women players know about basketball, and the white players they don't know nothing. I mean, what have they done, Mark? I mean, in women's basketball, what do they know?
Well, 1/3 of the WNBA players of the greatest of all time were white, so they must know something, Rob.
Yeah, I think so.
1/3.
And what about the coaching? I think the coaching. I think some of the coaches are kind of white too. They're kind of famous.
Oh, can't have that, Rob.
Someone from Tennessee was one, and
have to have an all-black staff because we got to do anything but Caitlin network. That's what we have to do.
Yep.
All right, so that's what happened last year. Caitlin Clark got underrated. She was 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting behind Kate Martin, who was averaging 2 points a game at the time. So, that was a stat guy. He was actually a white guy who just had made up stats, and he had his own system. So anyways, but this is now, Rob, I don't know why I get upset about these lists because I really shouldn't because it's just opinion. But I'm going to push back on this hard because people get influenced by ESPN because they're the biggest sports network, So I'm going to push back on it because then lies get started and people start just repeating, if you don't win a championship, you don't get a chip, you can't be great. All that stuff gets repeated. And then people just keep repeating it and thinking it's true when it's not. And we're going to explain why.
Yeah, the focus is always up with them is always championships. I mean, that's that's their go-to, the championships. And they say winning.
Unless Paige doesn't win one this year, Rob.
Yeah.
Then the rules will change. The goalposts will move.
Yeah, of course.
Gino already told us that. We saw the interview a month or two ago.
Yeah, of course. So you'll see it. With the championship. So that only determines a great ball player. Even though you might on your team have other great ball players on your team. So.
Right. And let me start out talking about championships. Now, this is just my opinion, but there's some logic to it, and there's some indication that this is something maybe you should consider in college basketball, they have a very short career. And then oftentimes the players, especially in women's basketball, have gone to blue chip universities that make it easy for them to win championships because they have all 5-star recruits. So in any sport, even in men's basketball, it's the same way. I could give you a list of 30 men that you consider a great player that didn't win a championship, and many of them didn't even make a Final Four. Many did not make a Final Four. I could read off the whole list, but you don't want it. You know many of the players. I don't want to bore you with that. So my feeling is in college and in most sports, championships don't matter. They only matter in the WNBA, the NBA, and the quarterback in the NFL. Because those are the only circumstances where a person can have enough influence on whether or not their team wins, and they had a long enough career. So that's my personal opinion. Those are the only 3 times I think that championships are really important. And I don't even think they're really important, but that's the only time I think you can really make it a major part of the discussion. And that's all I'm saying. And that's what makes it interesting.
Mark, the point you're making is correct, because just now until recently, we just had the seedings last night. The previous years, when they do the seedings, you already know who the Final Four are going to be. There's no parity. It's like, okay, LSU, South Carolina, Connecticut.
Well, except for in this case.
Let me finish. So now you actually have some teams in this seedings that there's about, instead of just 4 teams, now there's actually 8 teams finally that could actually win a championship. But before then, like, it was already locked up, so there was no parity. It was just like, so it wasn't that hard to predict who was going to win or who wasn't.
So anyways, that's my viewpoint. Even baseball, hockey, no, the players don't have enough influence on whether or not, you can't really count championship. But you can for quarterbacks in football, WNBA and NBA, in my opinion, in the pros. College, the careers are too short. You could go to blue chip school. I just don't buy that argument whatsoever. And Caitlin Clark is a perfect example on why you shouldn't buy it either, because we saw her play. I know what my lion eyes are, Rob.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through.
We got 4 eyes, Mark. We got 4 eyes, so we can see.
We're going to go through the ESPN a little bit. I want to point out there's 3 people doing this. I've never seen them before in my entire life. I don't know. There's a black female that looks like she's very tall. Looks like she's probably an ex-player. And then there's 2 people. There's a guy who grew up in Connecticut, and his first autograph was Diana Taurasi. And the woman lives in Connecticut.
So, like I said before, Mark, let's see. ESPN is in Bristol, Connecticut.
I wonder if any Connecticut players are going to make this top 5 list, Rob. I'm just wondering. I can't imagine if this is going to happen.
Well, Mark, I'm betting the house on someone's from Connecticut's going to be in there.
But none of them look over the age of 30, 35, Rob. I've been watching basketball twice as long as them. None of them saw Cheryl Miller play.
No.
Rob and I saw Cheryl Miller play live in the Olympics in 1984. And we've gone back and we've watched her national championship games. I've watched her Goodwill games. I've watched national championship games twice. I know I've seen her live, and I've watched her games. Most people won't even go and do that. I did. No. So I can analyze her as a player. And she's the best player I ever saw until Caitlin Clark came around.
Yep.
That's not even open for debate. Who's second? That's it. Brandon Stewart's going to be third in my mind, but Caitlin Clark is better than her. But they disrespected her in this video, and you're going to watch why? Because they never went and watched her play.
Cheryl Miller used to beat Reggie Miller, her brother Reggie Miller, all the time in basketball, and made him cry.
And they were only like 18 months apart. They weren't that far apart, Rob.
Right.
They really weren't.
Made him cry because she used to work him over in basketball.
That's how good she was. So yeah. I'm sticking up for Cheryl Miller and Caitlin Clark in this video, just so it's clear, not just Caitlin Clark. Because I don't care about skin color like they do. I'm not saying these particular people don't, but ESPN does in general. So let's pull this up, Rob, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. Who are you? Who are these people?
I know, Rob, I've never seen these people, and I occasionally watch ESPN's like Sports Center and stuff. I've never seen these people. What do they pull them off the street? Hey, you want the Connecticut street? Yes, that's where they pulled them off, Rob. I have no idea why they're having these people who aren't considered basketball experts doing this. That's my other objection to this. It's not like maybe Carolyn Peck. Okay, she's been around a long time. Why isn't she part of this 3-person panel?
Yeah,
I don't like her viewpoint sometimes, but if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't know who Caitlin Clark was. Because at halftime, she was a freshman, she said, Carolyn Peck said, I don't know, randomly was watching a game. I think it was a Connecticut game. She said, Caitlin Clark is the most exciting player in women's basketball. She shoots logo threes like Steph Curry. She was the first one to say that, by the way, not Stephen A. Smith. I go, I'll check her out. And that's how I know she is. So, but I don't know why they got these 3 people all like 35 and younger doing this. But okay, I'm gonna pull some rank.
Yeah, we can mention her age too, Mark, because there's one you hear that there's one part where they mention about age.
Right. So let's play what they have here. Now we'll start it. Okay.
I have to go with Breanna Stewart. I'm sorry. The 4 championships, the 4 tournament most outstanding player awards. I just think the resume speaks for itself there.
Listen, when you talk about Diana Taurasi in particular, Gino said she's the best winner of all time. I'm looking at the best winner of all time, Breanna Stewart. And we're not, too old to remember, too young to remember. They had like a string of 100 wins.
We're not too old. Yes, you're not. Yeah, you're definitely not too old.
You're too young to be doing this, is my point.
You're definitely not too old. I don't know what you think of 30 years old.
And they talk about Diana Taurasi being, this great winner and stuff. And yeah, she had 3 championships at UConn, but she only won 3 championships in the WNBA in 20 seasons. I don't consider that pretty dominant. So that's just my.
And who are her teammates, Mark?
Yeah, well, 10 players that made the WNBA in college. All right,
she
so here
carried
we go.
the team, though. But she's the one who carried the team, though, of course.
Well, we'll see. We'll talk about that. Let's go on.
111.
They didn't lose. They did not lose, and they don't have as much help as we would think around it. Let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
McDonald's All-American.
I hear what you're saying.
But Stewie really got out there and showed.
Well, let's not go crazy. Well, you already did go crazy, okay?
Yeah.
So I have nothing against Breanna Stewart. I don't really like her personality. Game-wise, I think she plays a great all-around game. Great offensively, great defensively. She does make her teammates better somewhat. She's a good passer. Mm-hmm. And she was a 3-time player of the year. And she won 4 championships and 4 MVPs. But she doesn't really make her teammates better anywhere near the level that Caitlin Clark does. She's not nearly the passer. She's not nearly the scorer that Caitlin Clark is. She's a better defender. I'll give her that. Mm-hmm. And I have no problem being number 3 for her, but that's as high as I would put her. And just because she won 4 championships doesn't make her the best player of all time. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is considered the best college player of all time, but he was also the best player. He was a 3-time player of the year. Robin, when he was on the freshman team, you couldn't play on varsity, and the freshman team played the varsity, and the freshmen beat the varsity in their annual game, Rob, because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was Lou Alcindor.
Right. Back then, Mark, back then freshmen couldn't play varsity. So They had a freshman team, and then they had a varsity.
So there's no question he was the best player besides the fact that he won the championships, even though UCLA was a little bit stacked.
And then she mentioned she didn't have the players around her.
Yeah, okay, so Breanna Stewart played with 12 players that made the WNBA. I just want to point that out. Caitlin Clark played with 1. Candace Parker played with 8. And Holtzclaw played with 6. Brittany Griner, I think, only played with 1. So Brittany Griner, I'm going to give you my list in my head, and Rob and Ken, if he wants also. I have a list of 10 that I'm going to put I think is less biased than theirs. And I'll even tell you who I don't like personally, so you can say, oh, maybe I underrated that person. Mm-hmm. But I tried not to let that affect my ranking.
We have 10 players down there. There are so many players that could fit in the top 5 here. I feel like we almost have to do a 5A and 5B, but let's give me a number 5. Give me something.
Okay. I'm going to start with Cheryl Miller.
Okay.
Your favorites.
No! Why you putting her out so early?
No. What?
You didn't see her play.
No.
She was 1.5 times better than anybody in her generation. Stop it.
No. Yeah, no.
Oh,
No.
God. All right. And then let's hear the reason it's so stupid, Rob. Here we go.
Yeah.
Favorite player. I'll put her 5. Right? Like, Cheryl Miller was the truth. She's a 2-time
She's reading off her booklet. She doesn't even know her accomplishments.
NCAA champion, 2-time tournament most outstanding player, 3-time Naismith Player of the Year, and Jersey retired at SC, and now we can see a resurgence of the University of Southern California right now with Juju Watkins. She's in the front row cheering.
And watch the form on her jump shot, everybody. She was 50 years ahead of her time for women jump shots anyway.
I'm on saying, yes, you better be a product of me.
Look at that.
I think it's important for us to talk about
All the
Cheryl
way
Miller
through
here
it.
because
Look at
She
this.
didn't
All the
have
way
the
through
opportunity
it.
to play
Man.
in the WNBA. So I think sometimes her legacy
Jump stop,
isn't
pull up,
always
perfect. Jump
given the
stop.
shine it deserves. But she was such a transcendent player in college. She is, and some people you talk to, she is their GOAT. So I think that she's absolutely deserving to be
Wait,
in the
stop,
top
Mark.
5.
She's about to say she's her GOAT, Rob.
Well, the whole thing is, she, like I said, they're too young. Like some people say that I talk to, because I don't know, because I'm only like 28 years old.
I don't know. I just followed Connecticut for 20 years, and this is how I came up with my list. All right, let me just finish like 3 more seconds on what the woman now, the other woman.
Right.
Goat.
Yeah,
My goat.
there you go.
I think something that's going to be in common.
She's her GOAT, so why did you pull her up 5?
Yeah, 5.
If you put Cheryl Miller 1 and Caitlin Clark 2, I wouldn't lose sleep over this.
Right.
But you put her 5. You put
5.
Cheryl Miller 5. This is insane.
In here.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go.
What if we switched?
Ooh.
I'm just saying.
Okay, well, Sam,
This is all food for thought.
So here's the thing. Love.
My first question is, why did he stick her at number 5 instead of like number 2 and say argue about it? That's my first question. He didn't even consider her, Rob, in the top 5 because he just bumped Cheryl Miller, which means he was never thinking about it in the top 5 anyways. They weren't going to bump Cheryl Miller out of the top 5.
He's just like, what if we pick this person here? Let's see, Caitlin Clark. What is that?
Let me just put Caitlin Clark. Let me just put her at 5, even though she has all these accolades. All right. So, anyways, let's hear stupid comments again. Yeah. Oh my God. Let me laugh about this. Let me know if you want me to stop, Rob.
All right.
Caitlin, love how she's transcended the game. I'm not going to go away from that. But in the open, we said, what makes a top 5 player? Winning. The only strike against Caitlin Clark is that she has not won a national championship.
Okay,
but
stop right there.
Several Big Ten championships, and she won 3 gold medals with the U.S. teams, and she was MVP of the last one, Rob. So it's not like she didn't contribute to the teams.
Yeah. We talked about in our earlier videos with ESPN and Jay Williams. No, you're not that great a player if you don't win a championship. Not that she beat an undefeated South Carolina team. No. Not that she led the Iowa to two straight Final Fours. No. That's not a great player. With the cast of players that are not even comparable to what Connecticut players usually have.
Rob, she played with her starting lineup her junior year had 3 3-star recruits, her and a 4-star recruit, Warnock. Her senior year, she had 3 3-star recruits, a 4-star recruit, Hannah Stokey, and her. That's it. She didn't have, and then eventually the next year, Kate Martin did make the WNBA, but she was a 3-star recruit. And she's a backup. She's not like a star in the WNBA. Mm-hmm. So that's what she played with. These UConn players are talking about played with almost all 5-star recruits. Right. Some to the Tennessee at the time. Right. So, and we already told you how many WNBA players they played with that eventually played in that league. All right, so here we go.
And that is the only thing that you can put against her, because the way she has dominated the record books when she was at Iowa was something you cannot duplicate. She's a 3-time NCAA scoring leader and assist leader, a true point guard for the people, 3-time All-American, 2-time Naismith Player of the Year, 2-time AP Player of the Year, all-time leading scorer. She broke the records of Kelsey Plum and Sabrina. Like, literally, there is nobody who has been such a front-facing name. It through a direct reflection of her skill set. But how can you be a top 5 player if you have not won a title?
Well, stop there, Mark. So she just she just named everything that she accomplished. She said that nobody else has ever done that. And then she rattles off all the attributes that Caitlin Clark has done. But that one thing, that's that one thing, Mark,
How can you beat? Because the reasons you just gave, all the accolades that she had. And the thing they didn't mention, Rob, is the most important thing about Caitlin Clark is how she makes her teammates better, which is how she dragged these 3-star recruits into the finals 2 years ago. Nobody in the history of basketball, especially women's basketball, has ever made their teammates so much better than Caitlin Clark has done. It's not even close.
Right.
And if you just didn't watch basketball, if you don't agree with that statement,
and it has transcended into the professional game, which she would get better. And that's the whole thing. It didn't just stop right there at college like some people thought it would be. Oh, that's it. She was just a flash in the pan college player, and that was it. It continued on into her professional career.
And the Caitlin Clark fans go, "Oh, you're just biased because you like Caitlin Clark." I have nothing. I didn't know anything about Caitlin Clark. I didn't go to Iowa. I have nothing against Connecticut or Tennessee. I don't have an agenda here. So it just, this is just me. I think I'm neutral, even though I like Caitlin Clark. I'm still neutral to begin with. So, anyways, she had a couple more seconds, and then we'll jump off to the next thing.
Yeah,
It's a great point, which is why.
No, it's not a great point.
No, it's not a great point. You're a goober. Go away. Who are you? Who are you? I want to know.
I agree with you. Convince me, Ari. We're switching back.
That was easy. I'm from Connecticut. I can't have a non-Connecticut person in there named Caitlin Clark because we really know she deserves to be number one. All right, so then they put Maya Moore in. Like I said, after that, I had no problem with that. They didn't say anything unique about her. That isn't true because she's a great player and a great leader. But let's go on.
I'm coming to you for number 3.
This whole segment we started out talking about Diana Taurasi. So can I pull it? Can I try?
Go ahead.
Do
Yeah.
it. Oh, this is difficult.
You got it. You killed it.
Sam, you make it.
We got a lot of UConn on this list. We got a lot.
A lot of UConn. Oh, gee, you didn't notice that? We noticed it. First, third, and fourth, Rob.
It totally surprised me, Mark. Totally, I was surprised.
Is this the only school that exists in women's basketball? All right, let's see what happens now.
Testament to what UConn has built over the years. Gino Auriemma has sustained success and dominant sustained success with Connecticut teams, no matter which generation. Diana Taurasi, y'all heard it already before, why she's so dominant, why she will be remembered as one of the GOATs completely. She's a winner. She is the villain. Sue Bird was talking about on her podcast how if Diana was...
I want to stop right there, Rob. Sue Bird, when Diana Taurasi got her first championship, when she was a sophomore, Sue Bird was a senior, and Sue Bird was player of the year. So you're going to see she didn't play with anybody later on in a couple more seconds. You'll see that. I just want to point that out. And she played with 10 people that made in the WNBA. So stop it with she's like this great leader that had no talent around her.
Right.
Born later in life that she would be the Caitlin Clark of it.
Okay, now I just got sick, Rob.
Yeah.
She would be the Caitlin Clark. She's not nearly as exciting as Caitlin Clark, and she's not as good either because Caitlin Clark is a better scorer, a better passer, and she make her teammates better. And that's why Caitlin Clark's going to be the greatest player of all time, and she's going to wipe out Diana Taurasi's records. But we'll go on.
But you notice how everyone's always referring back, even in this, to Caitlin Clark. even in this 5, they don't want to put her in there, but then they refer to her back to Caitlin Clark.
I know, Rob. They even put her in the headline of the video, and then didn't put her in the top 5. If you're going to put someone in the headline, is Caitlin Clark the greatest of all time in college basketball? You have to put her in the top 5. In fact, you have to put her in the top 2 if you're considering her in the top person. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have Caitlin Clark in the top 3, you don't know anything about basketball. Sorry. Yeah. The only persons that you can put up there is Cheryl Miller and Brianna Stewart and Caitlin Clark. Those are the only 3 you can put up there in accomplishments and talent.
Right.
She would literally, she's what everybody loves, a winner.
Yeah.
She's a producer. She's the villain. She loves, she thrives in that type of energy to make mainstream success.
We're running out of time. So I want to give you a thought on DT and then we're going on to number 2.
Of course, real quick about Diana. Obviously she was on that 2002 team, which is arguably one of the greatest teams of all time. But I think what makes her a perfect fit for this top 5 is because she really carried those UConn teams in 2003 and 2004 on her back. Those teams did not have a bunch of All-Americans.
That was one of the greatest teams of all time, but they didn't have All-Americans. I just told you they had 5-star recruits and 10 people that made the WNBA, and Sue Bird was player of the year.
This is hysterical.
Oh, Rob.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. So I bet some people listening, Rob, have not been watching basketball as long as the two of us. And that doesn't mean we're right. But, and I haven't said I watched a ton of women's basketball, but I did watch some in college. I watched them in the WNBA some, and I watched every Olympic game ever played since 1976, I think, or every Olympic women's game they ever showed on TV since I started watching Olympics in 1968. So I have, and then I went and looked up the list, Rob, and it's a little complicated with the Player of the Year stuff. I just want to point that out again because there's 4 major ones: Player of the Year, the Naismith and the Wooden, and they also have AP and Basketball Writers Association. So some of these players, like Diana Taurasi, she was not 2-time Player of the Year in most of those categories. She was only 1. So to put her in the number 3 all time when she didn't even win Universal 2 times all Player of the Year is silly. Now, so I'll point that out to you. And I'll actually tell you on the list. Rob, do you have a top 5 that you want to give before I give mine?
Well, the top 5, like you said, is Breanna Stewart, Cheryl Miller.
Do you have an order? Do you have an order for the top 5, Rob?
No, not really. I'd have to write it down. But
okay, all right, go ahead.
But I just have. I have. The first 3 would have be Breanna Stewart, Cheryl Miller, Caitlin Clark, and probably they left off. I think Candace Parker should be in there. I don't know why.
She was in there. She was second. They eventually put her second at the later on.
Oh, she put her Candace Parker.
Yeah, right after that. Right after they put down Taurasi. We didn't play that part of the video.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Candace Parker, and then
that wasn't in dispute that she should be in the top 5.
Yeah, and Maya Moore. Those 5.
Right, and Maya Moore. Okay, so that leaves out. That means Diana Taurasi's not in your top 5.
No.
Okay, she's not in my top 5 either. And so, anyways, I'll give you my top 10. The one thing they failed to mention, Rob, was that if you took off Caitlin Clark off those teams, if you stuck any of the players they mentioned on those Iowa teams, would any of those players, including Cheryl Miller and Breanna Stewart, would have been able to drag those 2 teams to the national finals, not once, but twice? And it's just a guess. In my estimation, no. And I don't think they come close to doing that. And now, switch it around. Yeah. If you stuck Caitlin Clark on those teams at UConn, especially, would she have won 4 national championships or 3 national championships? Or even 1, since they said she's not in the top 5 because she didn't win 1. Of course she would have. Of course she would have. So that's why their argument is so dumb. Because that's the main argument.
And their categories was winners. They said at the beginning, one of our things was winners. So Caitlin Clark's not a winner. Like I pointed out, she beat an undefeated South Carolina team.
Right. Yeah. And Rob, I don't know what to say, but she won. And she won 10 out of 12 NCAA tournament games her junior and senior year. She just lost in the finals against an undefeated South Carolina team and a very good LSU team that she beat the next year. And she beat South Carolina the year before that. So she just did it in the wrong order. She just met those teams at the wrong time.
Yeah, just switched it around, right.
I just want to point out, Rob, that all those Angel Reese fans that say, well, she's a winner, she's a champion. Yeah, she won some high school championships with some good teams, but Caitlin Clark didn't have a lot of talent in her high school. If during that year, LSU lost to South Carolina during the regular season by 24 points. If Caitlin Clark's team had not beaten that junior year when they were undefeated, they would have met LSU in the finals. And South Carolina already beat them by 24 points. So if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark doing them a favor in the Final Four semifinals, Angel Reese and LSU wouldn't have a championship that year because they weren't going to beat a team that beat them by 24 points, I don't think. That's just
exactly. They already beat them that year, yeah.
And then she beat her in Angel Reese the next year, so she was a winner there. And then she beat Paige and UConn that same year in the next round. And then she lost an undefeated team. It's tough to beat an undefeated team 2 years in a row, Rob. It just is.
Yeah.
It's just bad timing. She just switched it around the other order when she beat an undefeated team, South Carolina, the year before, and just switched it around. She would have had a championship.
And how many points she didn't even drop off in scoring in those games against the undefeated team.
No, she had almost a 40-point triple-double against South Carolina. She had a 40-point triple-double against in the round of 18 before that. And then LSU, she had a 40-point game. She just dropped bombs on them, Rob. They couldn't compete with her. 3 of the greatest games ever played in the NCAA women's tournament were played by Caitlin Clark in a 2-year period. She played 3 great games out of 6, the 6 most important games she ever played. How many people can play 3 out of 6 great games? Usually play 1 out of 6 great games. Because by definition, you're going to play average games most of the time. And she never had a bad game in those 6 most important games. So don't tell me she's not clutch.
Yeah, don't tell me she's not one of the top 5 college players.
All right.
None of the college players did that.
Right. So here's my list, and I'll tell you that personality-wise, I do not like Breanna Stewart. I do not like Brittany Griner. I do not like Diana Taurasi. I do not like A'ja Wilson, and I don't like Cheryl Swoops anymore. So those 5 of those 10 players I don't like. So I'll let you know that ahead of time, and you can tell me whether I underrated them or overrated the 5 that I do like, personality-wise. But I think I'm objective about it because I looked at everything. I looked at their player of the years. I looked at how many times they were first-team All-American, how many championships they won, who they played with, and things of that nature. And I have Caitlin Clark first, Cheryl Miller second, Brianna Stewart third, Maya Moore fourth, Candace Parker fifth, Brittany Griner sixth, Cheryl Swoops seventh, Diana Taurasi eighth, and ninth, Shamika Holtzclaw, and 10th, A'ja Wilson. And that's my list for top 10. And like I said, I don't know, have anything for or against any of these players other than whether I like their personality. I have no connection with them university-wise or anything like that. And that's my list. And again, the top 3 to me are pretty clear. And
your top 10 sounds like mine, Mark. That sounds exactly how mine would be.
Right. So it's, and Rob and I are about the same age. I'm younger, of course. And some people think we're twins. We're 16 months apart, so we're probably not twins for that reason. I can't think of any other reasons why we might not be twins, Rob, but at least being 16 months apart could be a number one reason. Anyways.
That's the only reason, Mike.
That's the only reason. Rob was a year ahead of me in high school. We went to high school together, in case you're just listening to this for the first time. So anyways, he was friends with my brother. So that's my take, Rob, and I'm sticking to it. And like I said, I shouldn't get excited over this, but I don't know. When I see like 2 people from UConn and 3 doing the votes.
Again, who were these people? I mean, I'm going to go. I mean, we probably should have researched. Probably should have researched, and I gather the tall black woman. She got excited when she saw USC, so I think she went to USC. It seemed like she went to USC because she was kind of excited when they showed the.
And if Cheryl Miller's your goat, why are you putting her at 5? Like, they made no sense. Like, this woman had no logic behind her. She said, because she's my goat. It's okay. Put her at number 1. I don't care.
That's like saying, "Oh, Michael Jordan's my goat, but I think I'll take Charles Barkley over him."
I think there's a small gap after number 3. I think those 3 players belong up there, and then there's a small gap. And then you can argue all the other ones pretty close. I like Candace Parker a lot as a player. And you can see how good a college player she was because she went into the WNBA and dominated right away. Yeah. And Brittany Griner was very dominant in college, more dominant than Diana Taurasi. I don't know how you put Diana Taurasi ahead of Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner won a championship, and she won a championship without all these 5-star recruits, Rob. She went to Baylor. She had a great team around her, and she was 2-time player of the year. Yeah, Brittany Griner was universal 2-time player of the year like Maya Moore was. Diana Taurasi was not. She only won 1 award 2 times. The other 3 she didn't win 2 times. So I just want to point that out. Anyway, so that's why when I rate the players, I think that's important. A'ja Wilson only won it 1 time, just so you know. She won 1 championship. But she didn't have a super stacked team. She had a good team. But I put her 10th. I don't even like her, and I put her in there, even though she's got only 1 player of the year. I could have put someone else in there. Dawn Staley won 2 player of the years, by the way, but she didn't get past the Final Four in her career. Surprised they didn't mention her. So, anyways, and there's Simone Augustus, Rob. She won 2 player of the year in 3 out of the 4 major awards. And then she wasn't mentioned. Sabrina Eskew should be in the top 15, probably. She was like 1-time player of the year and some 2-time player of the year. But she didn't win a championship either. So she's not going to make the top 10 on these people's list for sure.
No.
And Cheryl Swoops, you got to give her credit. When she dragged a Texas Tech team that wasn't that talented. Now, she was a little lucky that year because there was no strong team. Like, everybody had 3 losses or more in the major conferences. But still, she scored 47 points in the finals, and she scored a bunch in the semis. I forget how many. And she played great. She dragged them to a championship. So I got to give her credit. I don't like her personally anymore. I don't think anybody else does either. But that's another story.
All right. The main point that we're trying to make is that if you're going to be a journalist, if you're going to be out there, and that's why we're kind of going after them, you got to be very objective. I mean, like I said, you may not like that player. If you don't like Caitlin Clark, that's fine. But if you rattle off all those accolades that she had, and you're saying she's this and that, and nobody else will touch her, then how can you not even consider her to be in the top 5? I don't understand that. You got to be more objective.
And Rob, I'll mention 2 other names that should be in the top 15. Lisa Leslie and Tamika Catchings. They would make my top 15.
Yeah, Tamika Catchings. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
about
she was a one-time player of the year, and she won a championship at Tennessee.
Mhm.
Lisa Leslie did not win a championship, but she did win player of the year. And then she had a great WNBA career, even better. And so those are my top 15. So let us know what you think down below. In fact, I'd like to hear your top 5 or top 10, if you don't mind giving them. And let us know what you think of the video. And if you want to educate some people on a better list than the ESPN one, I'm not saying ours is perfect or it's the only one, but a better, more accurate, more impartial list
Yeah,
than
partial.
the Connecticut connection. And I don't know the connection of the other woman. I don't know. I just know what sisterhoods have done to Caitlin Clark. That's all I know.
Right.
And then she made no sense. Cheryl Miller's your GOAT, and you put her 5th. So I don't know what to say. So let us know, anyways. Share the video, and if you want, subscribe to our channel. Please do so. We're going for 7,000 subscribers. We just hit 6,000. Make Rob happy, and hit the notification bell when you do, so you get notified of our next video. And we're going to discuss this tonight on Caitlin Clark's crossover, which is every Monday and Thursday from 6 to 7 on Monday and 5:30 to 6:30 on Thursday. It's Eastern time, except for major holidays. It's like a sports reporters type forum, and we talk about Caitlin Clark and women's basketball mostly. And join us for that, please. We have a lot of podcasters come in as guests. And if you haven't donated to this channel, you can with super chats and super thanks down below, and there's a link to PayPal. We'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.